Okay, picture this. It's Monday morning. You know that feeling, right? Super groggy, dragging yourself.
Ugh, the worst.
Exactly. And you stumble into the nearest convenience store, eyes half closed, needing something, anything, and boom, there they are.
The glowing fridge section.
Yeah, those shiny silver and blue Red Bull cans practically humming on the shelf, and right next to them, those big black monster cans with the green claw marks.
Always side by side, it seems.
It's almost a reflex, isn't it? Which one do you grab for that quick hit? But like that choice, it's just the surface level of this absolutely massive billion-dollar war happening between these two.
Oh, it's way more than just taste preference. It's a global fight for your loyalty, for shelf space, for a piece of an industry that's, well, projected to hit over $60 billion next year. Huge numbers.
60 billion. Wow. And the market share reflects that battle, right? As of like now 2025, Red Bull's still kind of leading.
Yeah, they've got around 38% globally,
Mhm.
but Monster isn't far behind, sitting at about 28%. It's a real neck-and-neck race in a lot of places.
And the money involved is just staggering. Last year's revenues alone, what was it?
Red Bull pulled in roughly $10.4 billion.
Yeah.
Monster, $7.7 billion. So
Mhm.
you see the scale. This isn't small change. It's a corporate clash of titans.
Absolutely. So that's what we're doing today, a deep dive into this whole caffeinated conflict. We're going to unpack the origins, where did these things even come from?
The branding, which is fascinating in itself.
Totally. The corporate fights, the lawsuits, the deals made behind the scenes, and how they've just seeped into our culture.
Right. So think of this as your shortcut. We're digging through it all so you get the real story behind the can you might grab without even thinking.
Exactly. There's way more going on than just sugar and caffeine.
And to really get it, you kind of have to rewind the clock a bit. Back before these were everywhere.
Let's do it. Back to the 80s. Energy drinks as we know them, pretty much non-existent, right? Coffee was king.
Coffee, tea, maybe some questionable diet pills if you were really desperate.
Yeah. Huh. Probably. But over in Thailand, there was this pharmacist, Shaleo Yovidya,
Right. He created something called Krating Dang.
which literally means
Red Bull. Red Dang. Red Bull. It was this syrupy, non-carbonated drink. Very sweet.
And who was it for originally? Not exactly nightclubbers back then.
No, it was aimed at blue-collar workers. Think truck drivers, factory workers, people needing a boost to get through long, tough shifts. The core ingredients were caffeine, taurine, and, yeah, a lot of sugar. Simple, effective.
A local remedy, basically. Then comes the big moment, 1984.
Enter Dietrich Mietschitz, an Austrian guy selling toothpaste for a living, believe it or not.
Paste, okay.
He's on a business trip in Thailand, tries Krating Dang, maybe to fight off jet lag, and has this aha moment.
He sees the potential.
Exactly. He realizes, wow, this stuff works, and thinks this could be huge back in the West, but maybe, tweaked a bit.
So he partners up with Uvidya, right?
He does. They adapt the formula, make it carbonated, less syrupy, put it in that now iconic slim silver and blue can.
And in 1987, Red Bull is officially launched in Austria.
And it just takes off. It creates this whole new category. Suddenly, energy drinks are a thing.
Okay, so Red Bull pioneers it in the West. Where does Monster come into this? They arrived quite a bit later.
Much later. Jump forward to 2002. You have this company called Hansen Natural Corporation.
Hansen's, they made juices, right, like natural sodas.
Primarily, yeah. Fruit juices, iced teas, natural sodas. A very different vibe from energy drinks.
Definitely.
But they see Red Bull dominating this space they basically created, and they decide they want a piece of the action, so they launch Monster Energy.
And they did not go for the subtle approach.
Not at all. It was a direct contrast. Forget sleek silver and blue. Monster comes out swinging with this big black 16-ounce can.
Compared to Red Bull's smaller 8.4-ounce one, a huge difference in size right away.
Huge, and that neon green M-Claw logo, it looked aggressive, intense.
And the flavor names too. Assault, Chaos. It sounded like something totally different.
They were clearly targeting a different consumer, maybe someone who found Red Bull a bit too polished or just wanted more volume for their money.
It's pretty telling that Hansen's eventually changed their whole company name, didn't they?
They did. They became Monster Beverage Corporation. That energy drink basically eclipsed their entire original business. Shows you how successful that launch was.
Wow. So Red Bull opens the door, popularizes the whole idea globally.
But Monster barges in like, okay, we're here now, and we're going bigger and louder.
And that initial difference really set the tone for their brand identities, didn't it? It's like they became characters.
Absolutely. If you had to personify them. Red Bull is maybe the high-achieving, slightly aloof, extreme athlete. Perfect technique, pushing limits.
Totally, like the friend who's always training for an Ironman or posting pictures from a mountain peak. Their marketing is all about that.
It really is. Think about what they sponsor. It's insane. Formula One, cliff diving, guys doing backflips on snowmobiles.
Things most of us would never, ever dream of doing.
Right. They own sports teams like Red Bull Racing. They host these wild events, the air race, Flug Tag, where people build ridiculous flying machines.
Flug tag is amazing. Mostly crashing machines, but still amazing.
And they even have Red Bull Media House producing all this slick content, documentaries, films, music, all reinforcing that aspirational high-performance image.
It's a whole lifestyle package they're selling.
And the slogan ties it all together. Red Bull gives you wings.
Yeah.
It's genius, really. It's about transcending limits, achieving more.
It implies transformation, doesn't it? Although, personally, the only wings I usually get are a brief sugar high followed by needing a nap.
Huh. Well, the idea is powerful.
It really is. Okay, so that's Red Bull polished, aspirational, extreme performance. What about Monster's persona?
Monster went the other way. More rebellious, more raw, maybe a bit more in your face.
That claw logo is everywhere, isn't it?
Everywhere they want their target audience to be. Motocross events, UFC fights, big presence in esports now too. They sponsor heavy metal bands, athletes like Conor McGregor, figures with a certain edge.
They definitely tapped into a younger crowd, maybe one that felt Red Bull was becoming too mainstream, too corporate.
I think so.
Yeah.
And they backed it up with the product. Larger cans, often a bit cheaper than Red Bull.
Yeah, price point matters. About $2 for Monster versus $2.50 for Red Bull, roughly.
Something like that, yeah. And those flavor names, Ultra Black, Mango Loco, Pipeline Punch, they just sound intense. They fit the brand.
And their tagline.
Unleash the Beast. Again, very different vibe from Gives You Wings. It's more about raw power, maybe impulse, just letting loose.
So you've got these two very distinct images, these carefully crafted perceptions.
But here's the kicker, right? Peel back the label, look at the actual ingredients.
Pretty similar stuff inside.
Largely, yes. Caffeine, taurine, B vitamins, sugar, or artificial sweeteners, depending on the version. The core functional ingredients aren't wildly different.
So it really is all about the branding, the story they tell you.
A huge part of it is the perception, the feeling, the tribe you feel like you belong to when you choose one over the other. Red Bull sells aspiration. Monster sells rebellion. And both have made billions doing it.
Which leads us neatly into the less shiny side of things, the actual corporate fight. This wasn't just friendly competition.
No. Things got pretty heated, especially as Monster started to really gain ground in the early 2000s and become a serious threat.
What kind of stuff went down? We talking boardroom brawls?
Maybe not literal brawls, but definitely strategic maneuvering. There were allegations and even lawsuits later on suggesting Red Bull used its existing dominance, its relationships with distributors.
To make it harder for Monster to get good placement, like keep them off the prime shelves?
That was the claim. Basically, using their muscle to squeeze the competition. It's a tactic as old as business itself.
So how did Monster fight back against that?
They were pretty smart. They focused on securing exclusive deals with big convenience store chains, gas station networks, places where energy drinks are often an impulse buy.
Guaranteeing visibility, making sure that green claw was right there when you walked in.
Exactly. It was like a game of chess played out on store shelves across the country and eventually the world.
And then came the lawyers.
Oh, yeah. The legal battles were intense. In 2014, Monster actually sued Red Bull, alleging anti-competitive practices, basically saying they were playing dirty.
And Red Bull's response?
They countersued. Claimed Monster was infringing on their trademarks, specifically related to color schemes on cans. Blue and silver versus other combinations.
So millions spent just fighting over colors and shelf space.
Millions.
Yeah.
These things often drag on and end in settlements without a clear winner being declared in court, but it shows the level of animosity. And it didn't stop there.
More recently.
Just last year, 2023, Monster filed another complaint, this time with the Federal Trade Commission, the FTC.
What was the issue then?
Similar theme, alleging Red Bull is still using its dominant market position unfairly against smaller rivals. That one's actually still pending, so the fight continues.
Wow. And wasn't there a huge deal involving Monster and Coca-Cola?
Yes, that was massive. Back in 2008, Monster struck a landmark distribution deal with Coca-Cola.
What did that involve?
Coke took a significant stake in Monster, about 16.7%, I think. And crucially, Coke became Monster's primary global distributor.
Whoa. So overnight, Monster gained access to Coke's absolutely gigantic worldwide distribution network.
Pretty much. It was a game changer. Suddenly, they could get their product almost anywhere Coke products were sold. It massively leveled the playing field against Red Bull's established network.
How did Red Bull counter that? Because they handle their own distribution, right?
They do. They've always maintained an independent distribution model. So, faced with the Coke Monster partnership, they basically had to double down, invest even more in strengthening their own logistics and supply chain to make sure they could compete on availability everywhere. It's a constant battle for efficiency and reach.
And this battle isn't just happening here, is it? It's global.
Totally global. The energy drink market is exploding worldwide. We mentioned $61 billion next year. A huge chunk of that growth is coming from places like the Asia-Pacific region.
So how do their strategies differ internationally? Does Red Bull lean on its Thai origins in Asia?
To some extent, yes. In places like Thailand and Vietnam, creating Dang Red Bull is almost a cultural staple, very familiar. In Europe, they focused early on the club scene, students, athletes. They're very good at tailoring the message.
Region-specific flavors, too, you mentioned.
Yeah, like the Dragon Fruit edition in Japan. Little tweaks for local tastes. Plus, that Formula One team gives them insane visibility everywhere. They're in something like, what, over 170 countries now?
That's incredible reach. What about Monster's global approach? Still the rebellious outsider.
Pretty much, yeah. They've made big pushes into emerging markets, India, Brazil, Nigeria. They bring that same edgy, high-energy branding, sponsoring local music festivals, partnering with regional action sports athletes, hitting social media hard, targeting that younger demographic.
Does the Coke partnership give them an edge in those markets?
Definitely a logistical advantage. Getting product into complex, developing markets is easier when you can piggyback on Coke's existing infrastructure. And they're smart about product, too, rolling out their zero-sugar ultra line globally as health consciousness rises everywhere. They're in over 140 countries themselves now.
But navigating all those different countries must mean dealing with different rules, right? Regulations.
Oh, absolutely. It's a minefield. You've got caffeine limits that vary across Europe, sugar taxes popping up in places like India or the UK, cultural sensitivities about marketing, especially in the Middle East. Both companies have teams dedicated just to navigating that regulatory landscape. It's constant adaptation.
Okay, we have to talk about the health aspect. It always comes up with energy drinks.
It does, and it's important. Let's break it down. Caffeine content is usually somewhere between, say, 80 and 160 milligrams per can.
Which is like 1 or 2 cups of coffee, roughly.
Roughly, yeah. Depends on the coffee, depends on the can. Then you've got taurine, B vitamins, and either sugar or artificial sweeteners like sucralose or ACE-K.
But health experts often warn about them, don't they?
They do. Concerns are usually about overconsumption. Too much caffeine can lead to things like heart palpitations, anxiety, trouble sleeping, and there are more serious worries, especially for adolescents or people with underlying heart conditions, about potential links to cardiac issues.
Has research backed any of that up?
There have been studies. One in the Journal of the American Heart Association in 2023 suggested a link between energy drinks and temporary increases in blood pressure and some heart rhythm disturbances. Another one in 2024 from the American Academy of Pediatrics flagged risks specifically for teens. So it's not just speculation, there's scientific data raising flags.
And haven't both companies faced lawsuits related to health? I remember the Red Bull Wings thing.
Right. Red Bull settled that big class action lawsuit for $13 million back in 2014. It wasn't strictly about health effects, more about the advertising claim that the drink didn't literally improve performance or concentration beyond what caffeine alone would do.
False advertising, basically.
Essentially. Monster has also faced numerous lawsuits over the years alleging health problems, even deaths, linked to their drinks. Though, it's important to note, no major court rulings have definitively found them responsible in those cases.
And in response to all this, they've rolled out the healthier versions.
Exactly. Red Bull, sugar-free, Monster Ultra, taking out the sugar, replacing it with artificial sweeteners.
Which is kind of ironic, right? Marketing these high-energy drinks to people who are also trying to be health-conscious.
There's definitely an interesting tension there. It's trying to cater to changing tastes while still delivering that core energy promise.
Maybe the takeaway is just moderation. Like, probably don't slam 6 of these before breakfast.
That seems like sensible advice for just about anything, really.
Fair point. Okay, beyond health and corporate stuff, there's the culture, the cool factor.
Huge part of it. They've both become lifestyle brands.
Red Bull's image is very aspirational, maybe, polished. Think about their events again. Soapbox race, flug tag. They're kind of quirky, but also showcase creativity and, well, daring.
And their athletes. Shaun White, the snowboarder. Alex Honnold, the free climber. People who operate at the absolute peak. Their Instagram feed reflects that 50 million followers looking at these incredible feats.
It's all about pushing limits, achieving the impossible, fueled by Red Bull, implicitly.
While Monster cultivates more of an underground, maybe slightly grittier vibe.
Yeah, like their Monster Energy Outbreak Tour, sponsoring bands that are just starting to break out, and their huge presence in gaming and esports.
Right. Connecting with those really passionate communities, Call of Duty League, things like that. Their social media feels less polished, too, more chaotic, maybe more authentic to that audience. Their TikTok is pretty wild.
Still a massive following, though, 30 million on Instagram. Different vibe, different tribe.
Exactly. So who's cooler? It totally depends on who you ask, what scene you're part of. But you can't deny they've both managed to make drinking a canned beverage feel like a statement about who you are.
Which is pretty incredible marketing when you think about it. So what's next? Where does this fight go from here? The market's still growing.
Oh, yeah. Projected to hit $83 billion by 2030.
Mm.
Massive growth still expected, especially in Asia and Latin America.
So are they just going to keep doing the same things?
They're innovating. Red Bull's experimenting with things like their Focuses line, adding nootropics, ingredients meant to boost mental clarity, not just physical energy, tapping into that whole biohacking, performance optimization trend.
Interesting.
And Monster.
Monster made a really bold move recently, launching Beast Unleashed, their own line of alcoholic energy drinks.
Whoa, okay. Entering the hard seltzer-flavored malt beverage space, that's a whole different ballgame.
Huge shift. Puts them in competition with a completely different set of companies. And it raises a whole new set of regulatory and health questions, too.
Yeah, mixing alcohol and stimulants is always controversial. What about sustainability? People care more about that now.
They do. Both companies are talking the talk. Red Bull emphasizes their aluminum cans are infinitely recyclable, and they have a pledge for carbon neutrality by 2030.
And Monster. Similar things. Promoting recycling, working on reducing plastic in their packaging. But, let's be real. Any industry producing billions of single-use cans faces environmental challenges. It's relative progress.
And they're not the only players anymore, are they? There are challengers popping up.
Definitely. The landscape is getting crowded. You've got brands like Celsius, Bang, Alani Nu.
Celsius seems huge right now, especially with younger people.
It is. They market themselves as healthier energy, often with fitness tie-ins. Bang had massive growth too, though its parent company hit some financial trouble. Alani Nu has very distinct branding, often appealing to women. They're all chipping away at the market share.
So Red Bull and Monster can't just rest on their laurels.
Not at all. They're still the giants, but the competition is fiercer and more diverse than ever.
Okay, so after all that, is there a winner? Can we call it?
Honestly, doesn't feel like it. There's no knockout punch yet. Red Bull still has the biggest global share, that premium image, incredible reach.
But Monster has the momentum in many ways, that strong connection with certain subcultures, often the lower price point.
And that Coke distribution powerhouse behind them. Both are incredibly successful, multi-billion-dollar companies that have shaped pop culture.
So really it comes down to you, the listener, standing in that store again.
Team Wings or Team Beast?
Which tribe do you belong to? Or maybe you grab a Celsius now. Every choice fuels the fire.
It's your dollar keeping this battle raging.
Just maybe.
Yeah.
Think about having a water sometimes, too. Just a thought for, your long-term well-being.
Sound advice. Moderation is probably the real winner here.